Hilchis Malveh V'Loveh Perek Chamisha V'Esrim. Here the Rambam is going to discuss next to Prakim the dinim of an Orev. Now just a little Akdama. An Orev becomes mechuyev to the Malveh, that if the Leva doesn't pay the chayiv, so the Orev is mechuyev. The question is, how did this ischayvus happen? Normally, in order for ischayvus to happen, the person that's becoming mechuyev has to receive something. When you receive something, so then you become mechuyev. That's one option. Another option is that there was a ma'aseh kinyan. There was a ma'aseh kinyan on the ischayvus. The person that was mischayev took a sudar. There was a chlipin done with him. He picked up a sudar, and through that he became mischayev to the ischayvus that they made up. Now, a loiva received the money. He receives the money from the malva. The loiva owes the malva the money. The arev didn't receive anything from the malva. So how does the arev become mechuyev to the malva? That in case the loiva doesn't pay, the arev is going to become mechuyev. So the pshat is that if the arev, so it depends. If the arev was an arev koidim matan mois, which means that the malva didn't yet lend the loiva the money. The only reason why the malva is lending the loiva the money is because the arev is an arev. So it comes out that the malva gave money to the loiva because the arev was the arev. So that's ki'ilu, the arev received something. Now, how did he receive something? So in that there's already a shaila in lomdus. Is the pshat is that it's ki'ilu, the arev mamish received that money. In other words, when the malva gave the loiva the money because the arev said that he's going to guarantee it, it's ki'ilu, the arev actually got the money. That's one way of looking at it. Or the pshat is that since the arev had hanoah by the fact that the malva gave the loiva the money, so that's what he got. He didn't get the money because the money the loiva received, but rather the arev received the hanoah. But either way, the pshat is if the arev became an arev kaidem matan mois, so the arev received something from the malvi by the fact that the malva gave the loiva, it's kilu the arev received, and that was mechayev the arev towards the malva. That's only talking about if he became an arev kaidem matan mois. Masha'inkin, if the money was already lent, and now the malva is going ahead and trying to get the money from the loiva, and the arev says, don't worry, I'll guarantee the money. If he doesn't pay you, I'll guarantee it. So at this point in time, the arev didn't get anything. So since he didn't get anything, so how could he become mechuyev just by saying, I'll pay you the money? That's l'chura, not a ischayvus. Dibur itself is not a ischayvus. So therefore, you'll need a kinyan from the arev. In other words, in order for there to be a ischayvus, l'achri matan boys, that's where you'll need a kinyan from the arev. That's what we'll learn here at the Hemshech. Perek Chamisha V'Esrim. Hamalveh is chaveri. A person lends someone money. Va'achar shelvo. And after he already lent him the money, Amar li echad, someone said, Ani arev. I'm going to be an arev for this money. In other words, don't worry about the money, I'm an arev. Oi, shetav es haleva b'din. He lent him the money and he was already being mourning the leva b'din. Va'amar le acher, and now someone else comes along and says, Hanicheo, leave him go, leave him alone. In other words, don't be mourning b'din. V'ani arev, I guarantee the money. Oi, shahayechoinik is chaveri b'shuk. Not only he was being teveya, but he was being choinik chaveri b'shuk litin lei. Lepel v'amar le hanach v'ani arev. So we're going minakal alakovid over here. So in other words, the first case was Stam, he said on the Yorev. The second case was he was a Tivei and he said on the Yorev. The third case was that he was Chaynik Chaveri B'Shuk and he says on the Yorev. But in all three cases, even in the third case, Ein Ha'arev Chayiv Klum. The fact that he said on the Yorev is not Mechayiv, because words aren't Mechayiv you. V'afilu Amar Ani Yorev B'fni Bezdin. In front of Bezdin he said, I will be the Yorev. Nevertheless, lapel words are not mechayev, and Mela, since the arev didn't receive anything, so therefore the arev is not mechayev, even though he said that he's an arev. Avalin kanu miyodei, if they made a ma'aseh kinyan with the arev, shu arev mammon zed, that he's the arev of this mammon, b'chol elo hapanim, ben b'fnei bezin, ben b'nei ben hamalveh z'shabbat. In all these cases, whether he was chenik haveri b'shuk, he was teveya or not teveya, if lapel there was a ma'aseh kinyan that was done with the arev, that he was nischayev to be an arev, he's nischayev towards the malva, to be an arev, so then he becomes an arev. That's talking about if he was already a malva's chaverei, and then later on he comes along and he says, "Ani arev," because he was being teveya or chenik chaverei b'shuk. However, halacha beis amar le b'shas mat mois. While he was giving him the money, he says, "Halveyu." No, there was a clear whether you should give him the money or not. And he says, "No, halveyu v'ani arev," and now being an arev. Is that then is the shtabed arev? The arev becomes meshubed. The ain't it tzarich kinyan. Over here, you don't need a kinyan because lepel, since he gave the money because he said on the arev, so that's considered that the arev received something, and therefore that's in itself the ma'aseh kinyan. V'chein in bezin asu asa arev. Bezin made him into an arev. So in other words, Bezin calls him and he says, "Listen, we want to be teveh this person for dinner, But if you'll be an Ariv, so then we won't be Tevei Bedin. Like the Rambam says, V'chein Bezin also Eis Ariv, is Nishtabed Afal B'Shalei Konim Yodi, Kigain, Shayu Bezin Reitz and Lig Bisman Aleva. Bezin wanted to be Geiver from the Leva. V'Amr Lei, V'Amr Lem Hanichu. He says, leave him go. In other words, he's speaking to Bezin, not speaking to the Baldover, to the Baldin, to the Balchei, he's speaking to Bezin. V'Amr Lem Hanichu, he tells Bezin, leave him alone. V'Ani Ariv Lechem. And I'll be the Ariv. Is Hail V'Yesh Le Hano. Sheminu Bezin is Be'esa Hano Shibud Atzmi. So in order for a person to make a Shibud, he has to receive something. Either there's a Maisa Kinyan or you receive something. So over here, what did he receive? The fact that Bezin is willing to accept his words and that he's going to Ariv, and that'll cause that Bezin will stop kvetching him to pay. So that's a Hano that he has. And Memele, for that Hano is enough that he received in order to be Meshabed himself. That's this thing. Halacha Gimel. Hamalveh's Chaveira Yidei Ariv is Afal Pisha Ariv Meshubed LeMalveh. Lepel, the Ariv was there b'shas matan mois. And Memele, the Ariv is Meshubed to the Malveh, but nevertheless, Leyitna Atz Ariv Tchila. The din is you're not supposed to mon straight from the Ariv. Ela Tevei es HaLeva Tchila. First you have to mon from the Leva. Im Leinosalei, if the Leva doesn't give it, then Choyzer Eitz Ariv. Then you go to the Ariv and from him. So in other words, even though an Ariv is an Ariv, but it's not pshat, he owes the money. He owes the money, he guarantees the money. So really what the Seder is that you have to month from the Leva, and if Lepel, the Leva, if you don't get it from the Leva, so then you could go to the Ariv. But Medvar Mamurim, that you could go to the Ariv because the Leva didn't give, that's only b'she'ein nechasim l'Leva. The Leva doesn't have money. So you went to the Leva doesn't have money, so then you could turn to the Ariv. Aval yesh nechasim l'Leva, but if the Leva has money, lay your part in the Ariv Klal. You shouldn't go to the Ariv, Ella l'Leva. Since the Ariv has the Leva has money, go to the Leva. And if the Leva doesn't pay, call him to a dentator and cause him to pay. Now, Hoya HaLeva Alam, Vein Bezin Yechel Leitzim Yadi, the Leva was a strong person, and there was even Bezin wasn't able to take it out. Shali Bola Bezin, he wasn't coming to Bezin. So then it's a Nifram in the Ariv Tchila, then you could go directly to the Ariv. V'acharkach Yasa Ariv didn't know Leva. Yochel Yitzim Miyadi Yetzi. Yishamte Yisi Bezin, not Sheetan. So in other words, if we know for sure that the Leva, you're not going to be able to get money out of the Leva is a strong person, you're not going to get money out of the Leva is not coming to Bezin, so then you can go directly to the Ariv, and then the Ariv has to pay, because Lepel in a matzah that you're not going to get the money from the Leva. And then once the Ariv pays, so then he has the right to go to the Leva and mon from him, and if he could mon from him, he mons from him, and if he can't mon from him, so Bezin is Misham, puts the Ariv into the Leva into a Cherim, he makes a Shamta, knows because he's not paying up the labor which he owes him the money. Halacha Dalet. Hisna Hamal Bal Ariv. Now so again, so there's a din of an Ariv, you become an Ariv. So we learned if it's Shas Matan Mois, the mere fact that he said that he's going to be an Ariv makes him an Ariv. If it's Lachar Matan Mois, so then he has to have a Maisa Kinyan. Unless Bezin is the one that was masking that he should be an Ariv, Bezin was masking that he should be an Ariv, so then that in itself is a Hanoah for the Ariv, so that's in itself is Chayvus. Now we're learning that an Ariv, you don't go to the Ariv Tchila, you have to first go to the Leva, and only if you can't get it from the Leva, either the Leva has no money, or the Leva is an Alam, so then only then could you go to the Ariv. Now what happens if they make a Tanai? Halacha Dalet, Hisna Hamal Ba'al Ariv, Ba'amrli, Al Menas She'ipara Mimisha Erza. Made it nice, says you're going to be an Ariv, but I want to have the ability Ipara Mimisha Erza. So as I say from deswegen, Im Yesh Nechosim LeLeva, Le Yiparim an Ariv. So if there's Nechosim to the Leva, there's known, the brother and the Mepharshim explained that if there's known Nechosim to the Leva, so then you couldn't go to the Ariv. But if there's no known Nechosim to the Leva, so then you could go directly to the Ariv. So normally, if there wouldn't have been such a T'nai, this T'nai doesn't help completely, but it's not nothing. Normally, when there was no such a T'nai, so you have to go to the Leva, and you have to mond the Leva to Din, and you have to go to Bezdin. And even if you don't know that the Leva has Nechosim, but you have to move out, you have to try to get it from the Leva. Masha'enkin, once you make this T'nai, says Azay, if you don't know that the Leva has Nechosim, so then you can go directly to the Ariv. You don't have to go mon by the Leva. But if it's known, that says im yesh nechasim l'leva, that it's known that yesh nechasim l'leva, so even though there was such a t'nai, is le yiparim and the Ariv, don't go to the Ariv. However, Omar Amanas she'iparim mimisha erza tchila, he added the word tchila. He didn't just say Amanas sheipara mimisha erza. But he said the words almanah sheipara mimisha erza tchila, eisha hayakablim, which we'll soon learn what the seder of a kablim is. So then, as arei ze yitve sa'arev azeh is a kablim tchila. Then he doesn't have to bechlal go to the leva, even though it's yadua that the leva has money. But Lepel, since he made up with him, Almanash sheipara min aleva mimisha erza tchila, or he said Almanash, he became a kablim. So then he could go directly to the Arif. The Yiparimem, he goes to the Arif, he goes to the Kablim. Aval Pishi Yesh Nechosim L'Leva, even though there's a Leva here, the Leva has Nechosim, and it's known that he has Nechosim, but nevertheless, if they made such a T'nai, so then he could go directly to the Arif. Now, Ezu Arif, Ezu Kablim, we're saying on Arif, you can't go directly to the Arif, but a Kablim, you could go directly to the Kablim, is Azay. Amr Le Ten Le Vani Nes L'chom. That was the words that this person said. In other words, he's speaking to the Malveh, to the Leva, says, give the Leva, and I'll give it to you. So it's the same Lashon. Ten Le Vani Etin L'cha. Is Zehu Kablan. That's called a Kablan. Sheyesh Le Malveh L'hipara Mimenu Tchila. So even though the Malveh could still go to the Leva, but he could go straight to the Kablan. Aval Pishali Pirish V'liyamar Al Menashe Hipara Mimisha Eretz. He didn't say those words, there was no Tanoim. He just said ten Le Vani Etin L'cha. But those words, ten Le Vani Etin L'cha, means I'm taking on myself full Achrayis. I'm taking first primary achrayis. It's not like I'm a secondary achrayis. I'm a primary achrayis. Ten le vani etnulcham. Avalim omeli halveu vani arif. He didn't just say ten le vani etnulcham. He says lend him money and I'm an arif. So basically, I have the regular dinam of an arif. You're lending him. He's the borrower, and I'm an arif, but I'm a guarantor. So I'm only a guarantor if he doesn't pay you. Or halveu vani pereya. Even he says I'll pay. But Lepel, he didn't say on the Arif, he said, I'll pay, but Lepel, lend him the money. Lend him the money, so he's the borrower. Or Halveu vani chayev, or Halveu vani nesin, or Halveu vani kablon. So in all these cases, since he said the word Halveu, so it's a lashon of halva. Or even if he said ten le vani kablon, he didn't say ten le vani etlocha. He said ten le vani kablon, so that's like a different lashon. When he says ten le vani etloch, means I become mechuyev for your giving it to him. So kilu you gave it to me. Masha'enk, when you say ten leiv ani kablon, the word kablon means I'm being mekabel on myself to pay up that person's debt. The nekudas advarim is the pshat is it my debt or is it his debt? So if it's his debt, so the pay, he has to pay for it. He has to pay for it. It's just that I'm guaranteeing that if he doesn't pay for it, I'll pay for it. Masha'enk and a kablin is the taish, it's my debt. 10 lei, you give him the money, but it's kilo you gave me, bani etelach, I'll give it to you. So that's a kablin. So when the person says 10 lei bani kablin, so since he didn't say 10 lei bani etelach, so he's still not a kablin. Or 10 lei bani perei, I'll pay you. Or 10 lei bani chayev, or 10 lei bani orif. So it wasn't a 10 lei bani etelach. So kulon loshen arvu saying, and therefore ve'enei tevi tchila, he can go among the orif directly first. And the Lechura, it's also he has to add that the Mepharshim say Misha Erza Ve'efra Tchila. So in other words, because we said before, when he said Misha Erza Efra, he still has to go directly to the Leva. Masha'enkin, if he says Tenlei, and he says Misha Erza Efra Tchila, so only then could he go directly to the Arav. It's Nachama. So we're learning over here that normally the din is that an Arav, you go first to the Leva and then you go to the Arav. If he says Mimisha Erzi Para Tchila, then you could go directly to the Arav. If he's a Kablan, you could also go directly to the Arav. What's a Kablan? The case of a Kablan that the Rambam said one case, 10 lei vani etenlacha. All other cases, 10 lei vani pereya, all those other cases, even though he said 10 lei, so that's not a Kablan. And Alderaz, if he said halveyu, and he said vani nesin lacha, if he started off with a lashon halveyu, it's also not a Kablan. A Kablan is 10 lei vani etenlacha. Halacha Vav, Arav shel Ksuba, Afal pi shekonu miyodei, poter milshalom. So a woman wants to get married, but she's afraid to get married because she's not sure that the husband will actually give her the Ksuba if he divorces her or if he dies. So there's an Arav, this person is guaranteeing that if she's deserving a Ksuba, in other words, he dies or he gives her a get, so he's guaranteeing the Ksuba. Arav shel Ksuba is Afal pi shekonu miyodei, even though they made a Ma'aseh Kinyan on this is Chayvus, poter milshalom, shari mitzvah asa, v'lei chosr moment. So the Chura, there's two in Yonim here. Normally we say an Arav b'shas matan mois doesn't need a Maisa Kinyan because the fact that the Malveh gave the money to the Leva, that's in itself Machayiv the Arav. Now over here, the fact that the woman got married, that's not like Kilo, like the Malveh gave money to the Leva, because the woman didn't give anything to the husband. She got married, she wanted to get married. So therefore, the fact that he was an Arav and then she got married, as a result of that, that wouldn't be a Mechayiv Tim to the Arav. I L'chura, there's a Kinyan. L'chura, he made a Maisa Kinyan. So just like every Arav, L'achar Matan Mois, there's no Matan Mois. There was already the Matan Mois earlier. But the Kinyan is Mechayiv the Arvas. So let his Kinyan also be Mechayiv the Arvas. And now we say, no, Shari Mitzvah Asa. Notice we don't assume that this Kinyan was really as Chayvas on his part to the Arvas, because he was just trying to encourage that they should get married, and it's a mitzvah to get married. So therefore, and there was no chasra mammon, so therefore we don't nem on even with a kinyan that it should be a real gemiras das of his chayvus. Just like by asmachta, even with a kinyan, it's not his gemiras das of his chayvus. So al derez over here, we assume that it's not a gemiras das of his chayvus. The im hoya av orav l'ksubas b'nei and the konim miyodei is chayv. In other words, the fact that the av is an orav, there is a gemiras das, but there has to be a Maisa Kinyan. Because Lepel, since as we said, there was no money given, there's normally when the Malveh gives the money to the Levi, so that's how the Arav becomes Mechuyev. But over here, even though the father is being Mischayev, so there is a gemiras das, but there has to be a Maisa Kinyan. And the fact that she got married after his Arvus is not a Maisa Kinyan. So therefore you need a Maisa Kinyan. V'im hoyo ha'av Arav l'ksubas b'nei v'kana miyodei is then Chayev. That's the... And v'kablin shel ksuba is also chayiv. V'kablin shel ksuba is chayiv. In other words, he says, get married, and I will give you the money. I will give you the money. So over here, even though normally we learn that a kablin is only 10 lei van the etenloch, over here there's not shaykhs the 10 lei, because there's no 10 lei. So therefore, the fact that he says, get married, van the etenloch, so that was like he's being makabel, this chayvus of the ksuba, and he has a din of a kablin, and therefore there is taka a chiyuv. An arav, there's no chiyuv, but a kablin is a chiyuv. Halacha zayin. Reuven shemachar l'shimon soda, ubo Levi v'kibul achrayusa olav. Is lei nishtabed Levi. Reuven is selling a field to Shimon, and the deal is that if the field is taken away from Shimon, so Shimon could go back to Reuven and take from him the money. And now Shimon is not really so sure that he'll be able to get the money from Reuven. And now Levi is guaranteeing that money. He's guaranteeing that if there'll be a problem, Shimon, the field will be taken away from Shimon. So then Levi is guaranteeing that he will pay Shimon. So the din is that he doesn't have to pay Shimon, even though he took this achrayas before the sale. And normally the din is by an orav, kedem matan mois, so he becomes an orav without a Maisa Kinyan. But over here, that's dafke because the Malveh gave money away to the Levi. He gave money to the Levi. So therefore it's considered that the orav received something. He received the money, he received the ano, he received something. But over here, Shimon bought a field from Reuven. He didn't give money to Reuven. He bought a field from Reuven. He gave him money and he took a field. So really, Levi never received anything. And since Levi never received anything, so therefore Levi is not really Meshubit. And vice versa, that even if he made a kinyan, he's not Meshubit. There's no shibud of Levi towards Shimon. And Ram says, because he's hoping that the field will never be taken from Shimon. The whole idea is that if the field will be taken from Shimon, and then there'll be a chiyuv, because the violent there's no chiyuv. There's no chiyuv of Reuven to Shimon. At this point in time, Shimon bought a field from Reuven, everything's fine. Now, if the field will be taken from Shimon, and then there'll be a chiyuv, so then he's going to commit himself. So since we don't really have a chiyuv yet, and so therefore this kinyan also is not binding. That's talking about a regular situation. The imkonu miyodei shu orav l'shalom d'mei mecher zeh b'chol eishi yitvenu Shimon. Whereas the deal wasn't that in case the field is taken away from Shimon, so then he's going to be an orav towards Shimon. But rather he's saying that Shimon bought a field, but on the other hand, Shimon still has the right to go back on this sale and give back the money, to give back the field to Reuven and the money from Reuven. So really the sale is not really a final sale. So basically Shimon gave money to Reuven, and that money is not clear whether that money is Dmei Mecher or that money is like a Dmei Halva. So that he's going to pay this Dmei Mecher. So there's Ki'ilu already a Chiyuv. There's Kireya Chiyuv, and there was a Maisa Kinyan. There was a Maisa Kinyan to this Chiyuv. So then is chayiv because is again. When a person is mishabed himself, that in case there'll be a maisa that they'll take away the field from Shimon, and then Shimon will come on from Reuven. So then I'm mechuyev. So then even with a maisa kinyan, that's called asmachta. But if he was mischayiv himself, that lepel this money that Shimon gave to Reuven, which he gave him as a buying, he's buying the karka from him. But lepel Shimon could always mon this money back and give him back the karka. That was b'chol eishid yitvenu Shimon. He'll mon from him the money back. So Mele it's not really mamish a sale. So there is money that went from Shimon to Reuven. And now Levi is guaranteeing that money. He's guaranteeing that money. So then it's just like a regular Arav, just like a regular Arav. If he takes a Maisakinya, even Lachar Matan Boys is Mischayev. So Alder is over here, the Levi is Mischayev to Shimon through a king. V'chein, ha'arav ve'akablin, shechivu atzman al t'nai. Now there's another case. We have a regular Arav and regular Kablin, that they were Mechayev themselves to be an Arav or a Kablin al t'nai. Is afal pi shekonim miyodi, even though there was a kinyan, is lein nishtabdu, because mepnei shu asmachta, it's an asmachta. In other words, when a person is mischayiv himself in a way about tanai, it's al asmachta. Now the Rabbi is going to say the case, Ketzah, ken she'amalei, ten leiv ani etin. So he's mamish aloshin of a kablan. So you give this person the money and I will give you. Is nevertheless, ani etin. But he said, im yeh kach v'kach. In other words, he said the loshin of a kablan, which is mamish a kablan, but on the other hand, he said, I'm only being kabel self to be a kablan in the yakach v'kach. Or it's contingent on something. So then there's no chiyuv. Why? Because the rule is shekol atei l'shibut. She'ein chayiv bei. Be'im yeh v'im le'yeh. No, he's not really chayiv in this shibut. It's not like he received anything. We're talking about over here is that he's being mechayiv himself on something which he's not really mechuyev. And so we say like this. If he's mischayiv himself a clear chiyuv, so then he's mechuyev. Masha'enken, if he is mischayiv himself in a way of be'im yeh b'leiyah, notice he's still hoping it's not going to happen. And Memele, he's not really a gemiras das for the shibud, so Memele, the shibud never happened. That's really the gather of asmachta. Asmachta means that there was no real gemiras das to the shibud. Shekol atei l'shibud, she'eni chayiv bei, be'im yeh v'im leiyah, is lei gomer v'leihikna kinyan shalom u'lefichach lei nishnabat. Now, l'chura, what about every Arav? Every Arav is l'chura l'mashal an Arav. You make a ma'aser kinyan on Arvos. So l'chura depends. If the Leva will pay, so then I'm not mechuyev, and only if the Leva won't pay, I'll be mechuyev. So l'chura, every Arvos is a gather of asmachta. So why is an Arvos nischayev? L'chura, every Arvos is asmachta. So the answer is no. That every Arvos in the Taiches, right now I'm for sure an Arav. The din of an Arav is that I have to pay. If the Leva doesn't pay, I'll have to pay. But right now I'm a Vadai Arav, I'm an Arav, in case the Leva doesn't pay, I'll have to pay. But right now I'm for sure an Arav. Masha'enken over here, we're making a t'nai, there's a suffix whether I'll be an Arav or not. Because if this is going to happen, then I'm an Arav, and if this doesn't happen, then I'm not an Arav. So Mele over here, there's a suffix on the whole Ishtabdus. But by a regular Arav, it's a Vadai Shibut, but the gather of the Shibut is only if the Leva doesn't pay. Masha'enken over here, there's a suffix whether or not there'll be chatchal be a shibut. So that's the gather of asmachta, and asmachta likanya, because there's no gemiras das. Halacha test, shnayim shalovu b'shtar echad. Two people borrowed in one shtar. A shalakhu mekach echad. Two people bought a mekach, and they both have to pay for the mekach. V'chein hashutfim shalova echad mehem. A shutfim that are shutfim with each other, and one of them borrowed money for the shutfis. A lokach b'shutfis, or he bought something for the shutfis. So in all these cases, harehin arvoim zelazav opishli pirish. It's understood that they're both responsible for each other. So if let's say they both borrowed in one shtar, so each one of them is responsible for the entire shtar. Obviously, each one has to pay up his half. But if one of them doesn't pay, so then the malveh could go ahead and mon from one of them the entire shtar. And al derev zeh, if he sold something, he could go ahead and mon from each one of them the entire money. And al derev zeh in both other cases, when one of the shutfim bought or borrowed on behalf of the shutfis, so it's understood that the shutfim are responsible for anything that was bought or borrowed for the shutfis. Halacha yud, shnayim she'irvu echad. Two people were both arevim. In other words, they wanted two arevim. There was two arevim. So kshiyavi hamalveh lihiparev min ha'arev, is Yiparim, Ezem Shir. There's no din he has to go to half to this and half to this. He could go to either Arif. If he goes to one of them, that person paid him part of it, but he didn't have all of it, so then it's Chayzev to Ve'asheni B'Shar HaChev. Then he goes to the other one to mend the rest of the Chev. That's talking about a case where two people were Arif for one person. Now, Ve'echad She'ir of Shnayim, there were two borrowers for one Malveh. Ruvain lent money to Shimon and Levi. And now, this Yehuda was the Arif Sai for Shimon and Sai for Levi to pay up Reuven. Now, Lepel, the Arif, is now going and paying up one of the debts. In other words, the Malveh's money from Shimon, from Yehuda the money, and now he's paying up one of the debts. Ve'echad she'ir of Shnayim is K'shiyipara leMalveh, when he pays up the Malveh the money, really could be the Malveh's money in both monies. Is Yediach Choyv Ezem Shnayim U'Pireya. Could be both of them didn't pay. So in other words, Ruvain is owed by Shimon and Levi, and Yehuda is the Arif. So now Reuven goes to Yehuda and he says, listen, neither of them paid. So now Yehuda is coming and paying one of the debts. So Yehuda tells Reuven which debt he's paying, in order for Yehuda to be able to go and mon from that person. Whereas Yehuda is going to mon from Shimon or Levi because he paid his debt. So Yehuda has to notify Reuven whose debt he's paying. Is Nachamo. Echad she'ir of Shnayim. One person was an Arif for two Levim to one Malveh, is K'shiyipara leMalveh. When he goes ahead and pays the Malveh, Yediyah, so the Arif should tell the Malveh, Choyv Ezem Shnayim U'Pireya, whose debt he's paying right now, Kedei Shiyazer Olav, Kedei, for the Arif to be able to go ahead to this person that he was an Arif for and mon from him the money. Halacha Yud Beis. Ha'ema lechavere arev lepleini kach v'kach. Whereas you go ahead and be an Arif for this person, Vani Arif L'cha, and I'll be an Arif for you. Let's say we'll have a Malveh. There's Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is lending Shimon money. Now Levi is a person that Reuven wouldn't take as a guarantor. Reuven doesn't want to take Levi as a guarantor, but he's willing for Yehuda to be a guarantor. Now Yehuda is not interested in being a guarantor, so Levi tells Yehuda, listen, I want Reuven to lend Shimon the money. He doesn't want to take me as a guarantor. You be the guarantor, he'll accept you as a guarantor. You don't want to be a guarantor, so I'll be your guarantor. In other words, in case you have to end up paying money to Reuven because Shimon didn't pay the money, so I will guarantee the money. That's what's happening. So the din is, that's beseder. That's also considered an Arif. In other words, you can be an Arif to an Arif. You be an Arif for this person on this and this amount of money. Vani Arif L'cha, and I am an Arif for you, that if Lepel, because the emphasis is that if you're going to end up paying the Malveh, you're going to be able to go back to the Leva and ask him for the money. But Lepel, if you're not going to get the money from the Leva, so I'll pay you. Is Areze K'misha Omer, it's as if he told him, Halvei Vani Arif. Ukshem Shenishtabed Arif L'Malveh, just like when the Malveh lends someone money, so then the Arif becomes Meshubah to the Malveh, is Kach Nishtabed Arif Sheni LaArif Rishon. So the Arif Sheni becomes a Shubah to the Arif Rishon. So the fact that the Arif was an Arif, the Arif Rishon was an Arif because of the Arif Sheni, that's Kilu, he gave the Arif Sheni something. There's a Chiddush that normally we say when the Malveh gives the Leva money, so the Malveh gave the Leva money, and Kilu, the Arif got the money. But over here, what did the Arif Rishon give to the Arif Sheni? The fact that he was an Arif, for this Chayv, that's what he gave to the Arif Sheni, and Memela, the Arif Sheni, became Meshubah to the Arif Rishon. V'din Arif, and Malveh, v'din Arif Rishon, and Sheni, din Echad. It's all the same din. Because Lepel, you have to first go, again, just like the Arif Rishon with the Malveh. So the Malveh has to first go to the Leva, and only then could he go back to the Arif. So Al-Der said, the Arif Rishon, with the Arif Sheni, first he has to go to the Leva, the one that he paid up his debt, and won from him the money. And then if he can't get the money out of the Leva, so then the Arif Rishon could go to the Arif Sheni. Halacha Yud Gimel. Mishali Pirish Ketzev Adav Sha'arif. A person didn't make a fixed amount that he's going to be an Arif Kigain. Sha'amal, he tells someone, Kol Mashatitn Lei, whatever you give this person, tells Reuven, whatever you give Shimon 10 Lei, Vani Arif, I'm guaranteeing it. In other words, you're not going to lose any money on it. Oy Mechoir Lei, Vani Arif, sell him items and I will be an Arif. Oy Halvei, or lend the money, Vani Arif, but he didn't make up a specific amount. How much? Is Yesh Min HaGeinim Sheheda, Shafilu Mochrele Baseres Alofim, Elveu Meya Elef, is nishtar the Arav Bakel. So this is the Arav made a blank check. In other words, he didn't say how much. So Memela, they could give him as much as he wants. And Lepel, the Arav is an Arav, even though it's not clear what he became an Arav for. How much amount he became an Arav for. The Rambam holds that when a person is mischayev on something which is not clear how much he was mischayev, there's no mischayev at all. Shekivin she'eni yedei adover sheshibed atzmi bei is le'somcha daite v'lishibed atzmi. Udvar shultam hem elu lemevet. So the Rambam says a person can't be mischayev himself to something which is not clear. The only way to become mischayev is only when it's something which could be quantified. Masha'enken, you could measure it. Masha'enken, if it's something which belik vul, the person is saying whatever you give him, I'm being mischayev, so that's not really a chayev. That's not. There's no gemiras das. Halacha Yudalit. Misha amar lechaveri halveyu vani orev legufei shel leva hazeh. He didn't say a regular arvus vani orev. He says halveyu vani orev legufei shel leva hazeh. So what's the pshat in these words? Le'orev, that he became an orev legufei shel leva hazeh. So we say pshat le'orev la'atzmi shel moment. He's not becoming an orev for the moment. El kol zman shetirse. With the pshat of this arvus means that I will aviyanu lecha. The pshat in this arvis, how would we interpret this arvis? That on the orev legufa shaleva zeh, it means I will bring this leva to you that you should be able to be done with him. V'cheinim omer le'acha shalvo v'tove hanicheu v'chol man shetitveise aviyanu lecha. He made the kinyan. In other words, the commitment was clearly that I will bring the leva to you. V'konim miyodel zeh. So the din is im le yavi zal leva. If Lepeli doesn't bring the leva, so in other words, the commitment was that I will bring this leva to you. In other words, you lend him the money, and I will bring this leva to you for you to mund the money from him. Now im le yavi zal leva, Lepeli, if he doesn't actually bring the leva, yesh min ha'ge'enim shehera shu chayiv l'shal. That Lepel, since he said, I will bring you the leva, and Lepel, he didn't bring the leva, so Mele, there's no way of him getting the money from the leva, so he's responsible for the money. V'yesh mishaheda faker, shafilu hisno leva omar, im li'aviyanu, eshemes, eshebarach, chayiv l'shalem. He clearly said that I will bring him to you, and if I can't bring him to you, so then I will be chayiv l'shalem, is areza asmachta v'linishtabet. Now, since he's clearly saying that I really don't want to pay this money, I'm going to bring him to you. But if I'm not going to be able to bring them to you, so then I will pay. So that's called an asmachta. Even though, as we said, every arvus is like a certain asmachta because it depends if the labor wasn't paid. But over here the pshat is the whole chiyuv to pay you is only depending if I'm not going to be able to go ahead and bring this labor here. So it's not really a full commitment. So therefore, so again, when a person says, "Ani orev legufi shaleva," the pshat is that he's an orev to bring him, and there's also a hechatimtza where he clearly said that he's an orev to bring him. Now, what happens if he doesn't bring him? So there are minagerim that say that if he doesn't bring him, he's takachayev l'shalom, and there are those that say that even if he said clearly, if I don't bring him, I'll pay you, he's also not chayev l'shalom, because that's called an asmachta, and that is also the shittas Rambam.